Hi, I'm Terrence Anderson, and welcome to the premiere edition of BioRhythms, a weekly program featuring Hampton Roads notables, brought to you by the New Journal and Guide and executive publisher Brenda Andrews. The New Journal and Guide is the oldest continuously producing African-American newspaper in the state of Virginia. We're shooting today at the Granby Street Bistro, 225 Granby Street on Granby between Brook and Tazewell, and owner-proprietor Adele Hadges has invited us here to do this show. I'm very excited about this first particular edition of BioRhythms because we have a very special guest, a local legend who began her career at 8.5 years of age. Ladies and gentlemen, it gives me great pleasure to introduce to you Miss Lorraine Graves. Welcome to BioRhythms.
Thank you for having me.
Lorraine, yours is a spectacular career. Again, it began at the age of 8.5 years. Tell us how it began.
It's very funny. My mom said that I used to watch TV and imitate the dancers that were on TV. It was during that time New York City Ballet used to show their Nutcracker on television, and I would imitate the dancers. And one day she said, "Would you like to do that?" I think I had been going to a rec center, and I remember being one of the 10 little Indians, but it wasn't really ballet. And one day she said to me, "Would you like to do that?" And I said, "Yes, yes, yes, Mommy, yes, 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 Mommy." So she wanted to take me to what she thought was the best school in the area. I went to the Academy of the Norfolk Ballet under the direction of Mr. Gene Hammett. And he looked at me, he looked at my feet, he looked at my head, he looked at my body, and he decided that he wanted me to study at his school. Unfortunately, during that time, there were no African Americans in his school. I was the first African American taken into his school. His board objected, but he said, "I want this little girl." My mom then said to me, "Are you sure you want to do this? Because it's going to be a sacrifice, and I don't want you to come tell me in a week, Mommy, I don't want to do this anymore." "Yes, yes, yes, Mommy, yes, 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 Mommy." I started at 8.5, and I danced and danced and danced and danced and danced until I became a professional ballerina.
How long were you at the Hammett School?
Well,
again, it was the Academy of Norfolk Ballet.
Academy of Norfolk Ballet. And then they had a company. I was invited to join the company, which was the Norfolk Civic Ballet. I was there from 8.5 until I graduated high school at 17.
Oh, wow. And what happened at age 17?
Well, in between those years, I had scholarships to the School of American Ballet, which is the home of the New York City Ballet. I was 13 years old. And then the next 2 years, I went to the Joffrey School, which I really liked. I felt I was better suited for then. And then I got to be a senior in high school. I went to Lake Taylor High School, and my parents decided that they thought I should go to college. Well,
that's a good move.
I didn't see it as a good move at that point
time,
because
right.
all I saw was that I wanted to dance. I wanted to dance. They promised me I could go to New York for a year, and if I didn't make it, then I would go to school. Well, I came home from school, and my mom had sent away for applications to colleges, and she'd say, "Okay, you have to sign this, and we think you should go to school. Think you should have something to fall back on." Well, it was the best thing that ever happened to me. I went to Indiana University. I graduated in 3 years with honors, and my degree is actually a Bachelor of Science degree in ballet. I grew up when I was in college. The only thing was that I decided, well, if you're going to make me go to college, I'm going to go far away. So I went to Indiana. My brother was at Michigan State playing football, and like I said, it was one of the best things that ever really happened to me. And I grew up, I matured, I met a lot of people when I was in school that helped me pursue my professional career.
Let's get very real here in terms of the influences that you encountered as a child. You began your career at 8.5 years old. You're the first African-American ballerina at the school that Gene Hammett ran. What kind of challenges, what was it like? What do you recall about that experience, being the only African-American child in that situation?
Well, actually, I didn't understand that I was the only African-American child at that point. And after a few months, other dancers started coming there, other African-American students started coming there. But my teacher always told me that I was a dancer that happened to be African-American. I wasn't a black dancer.
Fantastic.
That made a difference in my...
Was that Mr. Hammett?
That was Mr. Hammett.
Yes.
That made a difference in my head. That made me know also that I had to be better. So I strove to be better. I knew after a certain age that I really wanted to dance, and I knew when I started to get good. I don't sound conceited with that, but
I understand.
I knew that this was maybe a possibility. I wasn't guaranteed, but it was a possibility.
Mm-hmm.
When I went to Indiana University, once again, I was the only African-American dancer in the company for 2 years.
So this was becoming a tradition
This
for
was
you.
a tradition. This was a tradition. I was very fortunate. I was very blessed at Indiana University because the director of the ballet department really liked me. My first semester, I was given a lead role in a ballet called Les Sophies.
Okay.
And after that, I met choreographers that came in that gave me very fine roles while I was there. And like I said, I graduated in 3 years. And it was Marina Svetlova, she's passed away now, who encouraged me to go to Dance Theater of Harlem. I had taken class with Dance Theater of Harlem when I was a senior in high school. But
Oh, really? I didn't know that.
I was a senior in high school. I had taken company class. They were here at Chrysler Hall. And I had been invited to take company class with the company at that point. But then I went to school. So 3 years later, I'm meeting Arthur Mitchell again and hoping to join his company.
And after you were there only 3 years, you became a ballet mistress?
I became ballet mistress, and I became then regisseuse. It was discovered probably after about 2 years. I was third cast for a ballet because I was a newbie. So, but I was a third cast for this ballet called Greening, and the choreographer was the late Mr. Glenn Tetley. And basically, you know, when you're third cast, you don't really get to do the steps. So I was the person that did the music. I sat on and I ran the music. And one day Mr. Tetley said, "Lorraine, how much of this ballet do you know?" And I said, "All of it." And he said, "Let me see." And I got up and I did about 3 different parts. And he decided at that point that I would be the one that would be responsible for that ballet.
No, what exactly is a ballet mistress, though? What are your responsibilities?
As ballet mistress, you're responsible for knowing the ballets, rehearsing the ballets. I also was sort of an assistant to Arthur Mitchell, the co-director of the company, and helping him do the casting. So it also put me in a difficult position with my peers.
And what kind of performances did you do at the ballet, the Dance Theater of Harlem?
At Dance Theater of Harlem, we did everything from Jeffrey Holder's Douglas.
Jeffrey Holder?
Jeffrey Holder's Douglas and his ballet, which were Caribbean-themed pieces, to George Balanchine's neoclassical repertoire, which I had never experienced until I got to Dance Theater of Harlem. And another funny story, it was that I got off the plane when I auditioned for the company in Philadelphia. And Mr. Mitchell invited me to come. And I had to find a place to live, so my parents were like, "Where are you going to live? And you can't go to New York, just anywhere." So they found me a place to live. And so I got off the plane, took a taxi cab to Dance Theater of Harlem, which is on 152nd Street between Amsterdam and St. Nicholas. So I went upstairs and I'm sort of sitting around and I go in the back and this lady who's a dear friend now, Vicky Simon, was staging this ballet, the Balanchine ballet called Serenade. And so I'm in the back and I'm learning what everybody else is doing. She said, no, this isn't for you. You're going to be the Russian girl, which was the lead role. I had just walked in the door.
Oh, God.
Well, you know, that didn't go over so well with some of the other girls. But for me, I was above flattered and honored and that he
Certainly.
had already given me that opportunity. So from there, the Balanchine rep, and then we went into the classical rep. And one of the most famous ballets that Dance Theater of Harlem did was John Terrace's Firebird. It became a signature piece, known worldwide. I was called the Princess of Unreal Beauty. That was my title. I don't know what that meant, but anyway.
Well, that still applies.
Well, thank you so much. And then another really significant ballet that brought Dance Theater to another level was our Creole Giselle. And
that I'm aware of.
we did this ballet. The steps and choreography were the same, but Mr. Mitchell thought to not have us be in Austria, where the ballet was originally staged. They did research and found that an aristocratic society existed in New Orleans. And so the ballet was transposed to the Bayou in New Orleans. And it became very successful. I did the role of Myrtle.
And the Dance Theater of Harlem afforded you travel all over the world.
I tell people, you can read books and you can look at pictures, but I saw things that I would have never experienced. I met people, I danced for people that I would have never met had it not been for Dance Theater of Harlem. One of the fondest memories I have is that we performed for Nelson Mandela shortly after he had gotten out of prison.
That soon?
That
Okay.
soon.
Okay.
And our trip to South Africa was very significant because it was the first time that the Johannesburg Civic Auditorium, which had been newly renovated, it was the first time it had been integrated. Not just black-white integrated, but all the factions of the tribes were actually in the audience opening night, the first time ever in history, and we performed for them. President Mandela came twice to see us, and I will never forget these words. He said, "Watching you all makes me forget my troubles."
Oh, that's a
I
high
take that with me.
compliment.
I take that with me
Yes.
everywhere in my heart. The other person we danced for, Princess Diana. I danced for several presidents.
Yeah,
I mean,
I know you danced for Mr. Clinton,
the Reagans,
George H.W. Bush,
the Bushes,
Reagan. For both Bushes?
both Bushes.
Okay.
No, well,
For George H.W.
George H. Yes,
Uh-huh,
and his wife was in London with us for a premiere, and the night we premiered Creole Giselle in London, actually, I had the pleasure and the honor of going to reception, and I was seated at the table with Princess Margaret. So I have to say that Dance Theater of Harlem afforded me a lifestyle and the opportunity to meet a lot of people. When we did a television version of Creole Giselle, Bill Cosby was the host and one of the sponsors to make sure that happened. He was amazing.
Mm-hmm.
We danced for Michael Jackson when he was younger. And it's just, the list can go on. The list can go, but I feel very blessed and very honored.
And you've also, were you interviewed by Ed Bradley?
That was a hoot. We did a 60-minute interview segment, and we were in Barcelona. And he came with us. And we filmed that 60-minute interview in Barcelona, and there we all were at this club doing the flamenco dancing, and up there with Ed Bradley. It was great.
And he tries to. He's a bit of a card.
He was a card.
Yeah,
he
was a card. Yes.
He was. Oh my gosh. But he was the nicest man. He was the nicest man. So genuine, so kind, so open, so professional. It was a great. He was with us for about 3 weeks. And his crew traveling around with us in Barcelona.
And I believe you also met Peter Jennings.
Peter Jennings. And Peter Jennings actually came to Norfolk and interviewed me along with my family. And my family owns Graves Funeral Home.
Right.
So we did an entire segment on me and my family's business.
We served on the Norfolk Arts Commission together, and we went to a Tides game. And I met your mom. Your mom could be your sister.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah,
She'll love hearing that.
No, I don't want to get your father upset, but tell her your mom is hot.
I will. My mom is amazing. I was gone. I tell people I was gone with college and my career at Dance Theater of Harlem, 17 years. I was gone for 20 years. I don't tell this story a lot, but I sort of stopped dancing because I got diagnosed with lupus in 1995. And I decided that I could not keep up the level that I needed to be on at Dance Theater of Harlem.
It must have been a tough decision.
It was a tough decision. But I had been there for 17 years. I had done a lot of things. I had no regrets. I left on top. I actually came home and I danced around here for a while. I went back and I did Dance Theater of Harlem's 30th anniversary. So I kept my feet in the door, and now I teach. And I'm very happy that I'm able to teach. So my time now that I'm home is with my mom, and we do everything together. If I go somewhere and they don't see her, they're like, "Where's your mom?" So thank you for mentioning her.
I have a lot of folks know that I have a serious background in theater. Nothing at all in terms of New York performances and so forth. But I have a genuine passion for theater. But folks that know me well, that know my theater background, know that I also believe that dance is the most beautiful art form. And I tell actors that you want to work towards a sensation. When you are creating character as you dance, because you are creating character when you
Absolutely.
dance. What does it feel like? What is that sensation like? How does that feel?
You transform yourself into that role. Certain roles are abstract, so
Certainly.
you just get out there and you dance. But a role like Firebird, because it was choreographed on us, it was an original piece, and it was our Firebird, distinctly our Firebird. We had to sort of develop our characters. Like I said, I was called the Princess of Unreal Beauty, so my partner at the time, Donald Williams, we sort of played around and found what was working for us along with the Firebird and how we could relate to the Firebird. The same thing with Creole Giselle. Mirta is queen of the willies. Willies are girls that have died from a broken heart. So I was the queen of them. And so I had to really lead those girls into the destruction of the guys that came into our territory. So it's a whole transformation. It's you become somebody else when you're on stage. I mean, I'm still Lorraine Graves, but when I'm out there, I feel like I'm another person. I feel when I was on stage, I felt a freedom, and I was very blessed by God to have this talent, and I thank God for Him every day, even through the lupus. I'm grateful and very blessed to have been able to do so many different roles, work with so many different choreographers, experience so many different things through dance. 2 years ago, I had the opportunity to go with Arthur Mitchell to Russia. He had been invited by the State Department through a season called the American Seasons. And he was going over there to lecture and to, maybe teach, but he just had his 80th birthday. So
I was about to ask how old
he just had his 80th birthday. Okay. He was phenomenal. And he decided, I can't go over there for all this time and I need assistance. So he invited me. He invited another former dancer, Homer Bryant. And then we had another girl that went with us for logistics. And it was amazing. We taught, he lectured, he judged a competition. And I tell this story, how many little African-American girls from Norfolk, Virginia, do you know that have gone to Moscow and to St. Petersburg and taught the Russians how to do ballet?
And you also met Mr. Gorbachev.
I met Mr. We performed. We performed for him in the Kremlin. And this trip last 2 years ago also marked the 50th anniversary of Mr. Mitchell performing in Soviet Union when he was with the New York City Ballet. And then it was 24 years later that he had come with his own company, Dance Theater of Harlem, wow, when we performed there.
Now, you mentioned the performances that you had with Mr. Mitchell. How was his instruction? Now I don't want to compare Gene Hammett to Arthur Mitchell, okay? But it was a completely different experience for you. Completely
different experience. Mr. Mitchell is my mentor. Mr. Hammett was the one who gave me the opportunity. If it hadn't been for him, I would have never gone on. Mm-hmm. I've had phenomenal teachers, but Mr. Mitchell gave me that platform. And I spoke about this before. He gave me the platform, and he gave a lot of other little African-American kids a platform to fulfill their dream. He was a taskmaster. He was sometimes very difficult, but he brought out the best in all of us. It's just like a director for an actor.
It's theatrical production. Right.
And that's what he did. He had an eye to bring out not just the technical ability in us, mm-hmm, but the stage presence. I mean, how did we project across the footlights? That was the main thing. And to project yourself to the back row of a 4,000 seat house, right, or like in the Kremlin, right, that was 6,000 seats. And wow, there were actually more people in there because they would buy one ticket and 3 people would sit in one chair. So we had really no idea how many people would be in the Kremlin at one particular time.
Now, you say that when you were diagnosed with lupus, that you made the difficult decision to stop performing. But it didn't stop your career because you continue to teach to this day.
I continue to teach to this day. I teach locally for Todd Rosenlieb Dance, which is right down the street from here. I teach at the Governor's School, which is housed right down in Todd Rosenlieb Dance Studio. And I teach for a school called Ballet Virginia International, mm-hmm, which is on 21st Street. I also am the lead adjudicator for a festival in West Virginia, which I go to twice a year. In February, we adjudicate. In April, there's the actual festival. This year, the festival was the largest festival they've ever had in West Virginia, and I think this is my 7th year going. Another highlight that I do is I am one of the regular guest faculty for the Alvin Ailey American Dance Theater.
So you go up there and teach as well?
I go up there and teach. I go on the road with them sometimes.
Oh, really?
I do.
Okay.
I do. And when they come here next year, hopefully they'll be coming here next May, and hopefully I'll be teaching them then.
You speak of your history-making appearances, being the first to be with the Norfolk Academy, the Norfolk Academy of Ballet, as well as Indiana University. What would you say to an aspiring dancer who has that passion? If you can look in her eyes and you see that she has that passion and that determination, how would she prepare herself? What would you tell her?
Hard work, training, focus, discipline. I have some kids here now that I mentor, and they're extremely talented, extraordinarily talented. I speak about one little girl. She is now 14. She is just now finishing up at the Houston Ballet. This is her second or third summer there. They invited her to stay for the full year-round program, but we decided she was too young. This girl is extraordinarily talented, and I'm on her because I see that she has a gift. I have to speak about a very dear friend of mine, Misty Copeland. Right now, Misty Copeland.
Misty Copeland.
Misty
I was going to say Mr. Copeland.
Misty
Okay.
Copeland.
Okay.
She is the first African-American soloist in the American Ballet Theater. She's should be promoted to principal soon, we're hoping. She is in the public eye right now because she has this program called Plie, I believe it's called, where she's trying to go into the boys and girls clubs and find talent and get these dancers trained. She herself started very late. She started at 13. She was discovered in the Boys and Girls Club. She was a cheerleader. She's a phenomenal person. She's a phenomenal talent. And I think that I can speak on this because she told me this when I saw her in June, but she's been judging So You Think You Can Dance, and it was announced on national TV last night that she will be doing full-length Swan Lake, which is a major accomplishment for the first time that an African-American ballerina will be doing full-length Swan Lake in a major company. She'll be premiering it in Australia when the company goes.
That's incredible.
I get goose
That
pimples.
must make you
I
completely
get goose pimples
ecstatic.
every time I think about it.
Yeah, and it probably brings to mind some of your own accomplishments as a first.
It does, because she is helping to keep the dream alive for African-American little ballerinas.
Mm-hmm.
They can look at her and they can aspire to be like her, or when we were growing up, hopefully somebody aspired to be like me and other people.
What did you find as your greatest challenge, as a dancer?
Well,
and it can be in any area.
Also, being African-American, number one, but also I was very tall for a ballerina.
Yeah, we talked about that at one point.
Yes, I was very tall for a ballerina. And Mr. Mitchell used to tell me, "You're not tall enough, dear." So I was fortunate at Dance Theater of Harlem that I had partners that were very tall. So I was able to do a lot of partnering work. When I was in school, I actually auditioned for companies, and basically I was told, I was too tall and I was too this and I was too that. But I fought through it. I tell people, don't let anybody tell you no. The word no meant yes to me. It meant yes, I can.
Right.
And yes, I will. And yes, I will show you.
When folks just say to you that you are tall or so forth, you ever think that was code?
It was code in a couple of auditions when I was standing next to a girl that was taller than me.
Yeah.
But at Dance Theater of Harlem, also it meant that I couldn't be in the corps de ballet. So that was another plus for me. I had to be good enough to be able to stand out. So again, that meant more work, harder work, more discipline, more focus.
Well, Lorraine, as I anticipated, it has been an absolute joy, an absolute delight talking to you.
Thank you so much for having
me. And even
me.
though you stopped dancing because of your energy, your passion, it seems to me like you're dancing now.
Well, it's time to give back, so I'm happy to be able to do it and fortunate and blessed to be able to do it.
Well, thank you for coming on to this premiere
Thank you
edition
so
of
much for
BioRhythms.
having me.